Hello, I'm Marilú López. Greetings from Mexico City. I'm very happy today because we are celebrating my book's third anniversary, my book, Data Strategies for Data Governance. And for this special celebration, I want to welcome who made this possible, who made it possible that today my book is receiving a great present, a great birthday present, the German translation. So welcome, Bita Motamedian, who made this a reality. Thank you and welcome to this celebration, Bita.
Hello, and thank you very much, Marilú, for making this happen. To be honest, this celebration is another way of making this distributed, the message distributed among the data community. Very happy to be here. It's an honor.
Thank you very much. You know, uh, every year, well, today is August 31st, 2026. It was 3 years ago in the same day, August 31st, but 2023, that we had this first celebration of the book original edition that was in English. And ever since, this is the story of my book. Um, wait. Something happened here. Yeah. This is the story of the book. The book was originally written in English, although it is not my main language. I did that because I wanted to share my ideas on how to build effective data strategies with some of the thought leaders that I have the fortune of having met during these years. And I wanted to ask them how they have found data strategy or the lack of data strategy in the different cases or organizations that they have helped. So my book was includes an interview with Bill Lindman, Tom Redman, James Price, Melanie Mecca, and of course, Janet McGilvray, who was my mentor for this project and is my great friend. And that's how the book was originally published in English. Today, unfortunately, we don't have Steve Howerman with us. He's enjoying a great holiday season, very well deserved. But I'm sure wherever Steve is at this moment, he is also celebrating with us this new milestone that my book has reached in its life cycle. Well, every year after the book was originally launched in 2023, for every year we celebrate its birthday, and we celebrate with different presents. The first present was the translation to Spanish. The second anniversary, we had the fortune of having two presents, the Japanese and the Chinese translation. And very recently, we had the Portuguese from Brazil translation. This year, it was in April. So it was an third birthday present, early present for the book. But now it is a great pleasure to have this celebration with the German uh, version of the book, thanks to Vida. So greetings to Steve Hoverman and greetings to all the people that have helped me through this journey with the book. But I want to tell you something very special for me that, well, the Spanish translation that was, I'm proud, I can proudly say that it was translated by my son. And the other editions, the Chinese, Japanese, or even the Portuguese, were translated by people that I have met in my data management community through being part of Data Method. But something that surprised me a lot was that the German one was translated by Bita, that I hadn't had the pleasure of meeting her before. So I'm very curious to know, and I'm sure you will enjoy learning the story behind this translation, because it's something very meaningful for me, that someone that wasn't involved with me at all of a sudden came to my door and knocked and said, "Hey, would you be interested in me translating your book into German?" And I said, "Whoa, why? Of course." And I want to hear Vira's story on this. Why did you do this, Vira? What moved you to do this work, a huge work? I can understand, because I also do translations of other books, but what moved you to do this? Tell us.
Yeah, thanks, Marilou, and again, congratulations for reaching to broader audiences around the world with your message. To be honest, yeah, my story. Let me start with the fact that I also have been working in the data field for the past 20 years, and last 15 years, specifically in Germany, in German market, in this field, different industries, different companies, enterprises, small startup, and small, medium, so to say, sizes. What as a system integrator and a data architect I saw and I used often was different standards that helped solving complex problems in different companies, like using data management framework, using BPMN, using CRISPM, and many more. And December 23, I bought your book for my Christmas holiday. And I started reading it. The more I read, the more I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. Someone had put a lot of effort to put all of these methodologies and, so to say, standards in one place, in one book, and gave it a proper naming with all of these very useful canvases around. PAC. The more I read, the more I was interested into, going deeper into it and connecting it with my own experiences in different companies. And after the 3 and 4th chapter, I was pretty sure that this would be a great opportunity to also bring that message into German speaking market, because what I had observed during the past, let's say more than a decade here, was many companies, they start, those data related plan with, of course, positive intention. But unfortunately, I also had observed that many of them face failures in a way that it is very costly. They have to restart again. And that is maybe because the lack of how to start, where to start, and how to, move step by step. And to be honest, I really felt I would like to contribute to the great work you had done already, putting a lot of effort to put everything in this one book as a reference, helping you in distributing that knowledge even further in German speaking, so to say, market. And that was my motivation.
Hey, great. Thank you very much for this story. I love it. And I love the fact that it was a Christmas present for everyone. And you're very right. Something I have felt this last years, that something real valuable must be in the method that I describe in this book, because otherwise I couldn't understand how it has been translated to so many languages so far, and more to come, I'm sure, because my goal is to spread this message around the world. And let me start by telling those that are joining us today, or that will watch this recording afterwards, what the method is and how it was created. After working 32 years in the financial sector at the bank here in Mexico, I decided to retire 7 years ago. And the very first project that I had as an independent consultant was to help an organization to define their data strategies. At that moment, I had a very good idea of how to recognize what was a good or bad data strategy, but I had no idea at all on how to produce one. And I bought a lot of books on data strategy, but no book had the step by step that I needed to produce the data strategy. So I had to define something, and I came up with this. And it was something that was created based on different sources of inspiration. Of course, my main one was the DAMA International Data Management Framework. And at that time, I also was involved with the DCAM, the Data Management Maturity Capability Model. But if I can tell the truth, the most relevant inspiration for me was the business model canvas defined by Alex Osterwalder that I had the fortune to learn like 20 years ago when I was an enterprise architect. And ever since I knew about that method, I have used that for everything in my professional and even my personal life. So I became a canvas lover. That's why every time I talk about my method, I wear something related to the Mondrian design because that reminds me the canvases. I'm a canvas lover. So PAC stands for Pragmatic, Agile, and Communicable Method. And I remember Laura Sebastian Coleman was my first edition editor and my best English teacher. And she told me, hey, Marilú, but do you know what communicable means? That's when a disease is spread across different persons, kind of a pandemic. And she suggested I change that word. And I said, no, I like it because it works in English and in Spanish. And it means that something is, for me, that something is easy to communicate to others, which is what I wanted to do with the data strategy. And then I realized, okay, I wanted to spread across the world as a pandemic this message of the relevance of data strategy and how to produce it in a very pragmatic way. So the PAC method is comprised of three components. First, one thing that I say is that data strategy is not in the singular, but it's a plural. There are different data strategies related among them, and that is described in the data strategies framework. And then for each of those different strategies, I design a canvas for each of those. And of course, one of the canvases is the business model canvas, because I think that every single data management function must be treated as a business within the organization. And that changes the perspective of people running that function a lot. And the third component is a cycle of 10 steps that have to be repeated at least annually. So that's, in essence, the PAC method. And there are different data strategies, as I mentioned, starting by what I call the alignment data strategy, to align data with the business strategy objectives, and to prioritize all the pain points, all the requirements, motivations, and the behaviors that have to be changed. That then is related, that's the input to the data management strategy. And after that, to the data governance and each of the different functions that needs to be described. These boxes here in the middle of this framework represent the different data management functions that we find in DEMA International's data management framework, the DEMA wheel. But those have to be prioritized. So that's the essence of this framework. And then for each of those different strategies, there's a specific canvas. And the steps starting by defining who will contribute to the definition of the strategy. The very first data alignment strategy is where we have people from all over the organization contributing to define the priorities for the organization. And well, that's the main message, but I won't spoil this. I won't tell you more about this. Just to know that the book comes with a companion webpage where you can find all the templates and the case study and some images from the book so you can use them to communicate this message within your organization. So that's the essence of the book. I won't tell you more because we want you to get all the details from the book itself. But now I want to go back to Bita and to understand what she found when reading the book and how Bita, how do you connect these ideas that I have in the book with the reality of your environment and the companies that you have been working with and the German speaking people? How do you think this could help people to do things better?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Marilú. I think maybe I should also provide another context why I chose this book, to translate it in as a, so to say, a voluntary base, right? It was because I found your book agnostic. It is the method of PAC can be really applied in any company, any organization, in any industry, and regardless of their data maturity level. That was for me the most fascinating part of this book that made me think that I would like to contribute to the data community in Germany and make it available for the, let's say, German-speaking market, because sometimes, as you know, after work we are tired and it's easier to read in the language that you are more comfortable rather than a foreign language. So that is part of the answer to your question. And then the second part is related to, as you mentioned, how I connected it between the reality and the theory, right?
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I'm also a big fan of the business canvases. I had been always, because I think that is how we bring different teams, different stakeholders easier together, because it makes it easy to communicate. It makes it easy to also discuss a topic that is actually summarized with the most important points in one canvas. And that is what I also had used mostly, the business canvases, until I got familiar with your different canvases that helped me also to forward the knowledge that I had gathered during the past years into a bit more practical manner, using some of your canvases in different companies, actually.
Yeah, you mentioned something very relevant that reminded me that some months ago, a reader shared a very nice review of the book. And this person was telling, hey, this is the way I map it for small companies. This is not only applied to large corporations, large enterprises, but very small ones also can benefit from this method. And I love the way he addressed those mappings to small organizations. But you're totally true. And another thing you mentioned is that this is agnostic. A lot of people have asked me during these 3 years, hey, Marilu, when are you coming up with the second edition of your book? And I said, I'm not thinking about a second edition. Perhaps at some moment I could rather think of additional books complementing this, because I believe the data strategy is the missing link in the data supply chain, because a lot of people think that data strategies is something too hard to accomplish, and they are with the urgency of solving immediate pain points, and everyone wants to use the AI these days, even if they don't know what they want to solve or which questions they want the AI to help answering. They haven't done that. So my answer is that, yeah, exactly as you mentioned, this method is totally agnostic to whatever is timeless. And I am sure this will be require years to come from now if we want to have successful implementation solutions around our data and have finally a world with beta data. And so I love very much that you have gotten this same spirit that I wanted to share with my book. But
Yes.
another thing that I have always pursued since the book was launched is trying to reach the young generations with this. People that those students at university that first they were studying data science, and now even data science is getting forgotten, and everyone wants to become AI specialist. What will you tell people at universities, and how do you see if there's an opportunity to bring this book, this method to universities, to colleges?
Yeah, I think
What do you think about it?
yeah, I think that's to be honest, my intention was to contribute, to the data community in a way, also to support not only the German business, let's say, market, but also the German students to start on a more, I say, stable ground around data strategy. Yes, I think we are hearing AI, LLM a lot, but without a proper data foundation, those LLM, those AI would not produce the results that we are aiming or we are hoping for. So I think that is very important to still we do not forget that the foundations, the foundational, let's say, topics, foundational structure, strategies are very vital and critical, so to say, for any further work on the age of digitalization and AI and LLM. For those who are in this, let's say, session with us and in the teaching at universities or in the course providing industry, I really think that without having a simplified solution or a simplified, so to say, methodology, we cannot get everything done as we wish. And that is the fact that this PAC method for me is that simplified methodology, agnostic of the industry and, let's say, company size and the company data. I say even quality, because sometimes, you have some companies with better quality, some companies with, let's say, a bit lower maturity. This would help to build that base, that let's say ground knowledge for the new generation who would come to our market, right? And as you mentioned, data scientists, right? How data scientists can work with the data that is not verified, that it is not reliable, and how we provide that reliable, verified data for our data scientists to work with, to provide reliable decision making, let's say, insight out of those data. This is the ground that we need to bring, to the broader audiences. Either it will be in the business, the practitioners, or in the academia.
Yeah, that's totally true. This awareness of needing to do something to better manage the data, to be sure that whatever the AI is telling us is reliable. And it takes a lot of work, yes, but work that deserves to be done, and it deserves to invest on this work and this foundational work. So that's the essence of this work, of this message that we have put together, and something that I want to uh, recognize, and I always be very grateful to you, is that, as you mentioned, this has been a volunteer work. And a lot of people, in my volunteer work with Dema International, for instance, a lot of people always ask me, hey, how come are you dedicating so much time of volunteer work? Some people simply don't understand this. But the motivation is the passion that we have, the passion to share it with others because we believe in something. So that same passion, I discovered that in you, and it makes me feel so good, like, in that sense. And thank you very much for everything that you have done. I know the hard work it takes to do this, and taking time, extra time from your life to do this, it's worth it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, before we wrap this up, any additional thoughts or message you will like to give to our audience here, people watching us
Yeah,
right
actually,
now or later on?
I would like to just add to what you mentioned, the audiences, because I think it's also important to share what we think, who can benefit from this book, reading this book, right? It's not just the practitioner in our community, in data community, not only data architect, data engineers, data leaders, but I also think that the executive, the decision maker, the C-suite, they can also benefit because the book is not too much into details, technical details, but it's also bring the awareness why sometimes the data practitioner who use the correct methodology, they need support from the C-suite. And I think that is what maybe we did not mention, but I wanted to mention, besides, of course, also the academia and the fact that we hope that we can have more foundation or foundational knowledge around strategy and why the data strategy is important among the students in this field, specifically in the DACH region or Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We have very strong program about, so to say, we call it business informatics, if I want to translate it in English, and data science, of course, and AI all over, but these business informatics, I think, programs, they would immensely benefit if they can include, so to say, these kinds of data strategy foundation. And just wanted to mention this part, I think, which from my perspective was also an important message from your book. Other than that, if you don't have any further question, if you don't mind, I also would like to spend maybe a couple of minutes to talk with our German participant here as the last part of this session.
For sure.
Yeah,
I will love that. Yeah. I won't understand anything, but I will love that.
no worries. I think that I can send you also a translation what I say, but I think it would be important to mention why we went through English. Of course, the original version of the book is in English, and I think I would like to take the opportunity to also distribute some vital messages from my perspective about the book in German, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
So, also, vielen Dank für Ihre Teilnahme an diesem Treffen. Für diejenigen unter Ihnen, die sich vielleicht fragen, warum dieses Gespräch auf Englisch stattfand. Also das ist nicht ungewöhnlich in unserer internationalen Datencommunity. Aber ich möchte Sie ermutigen, die deutsche Ausgabe dieses Buches gerade deshalb ernst zu nehmen. Dieses Buch ist für Sie übersetzt worden, und zwar aus Anerkennung, dass der deutschsprachige Datenmarkt Wissen verdient, das in seiner eigenen Sprache, mit seiner eigenen Terminologie und mit von Ihnen erwarteten Präzision vermittelt wird. Obwohl die PAC-Methode auch auf Englisch funktioniert, finden wir sie im Deutschen nützlich, um im deutschsprachigen Raum eine weitestmögliche Fachgruppe zu erreichen. Data Governance ist nicht nur für Sammlung englischer Fachbegriffe. Es ist vielmehr eine Disziplin, die sich in ihrer Sprache, in ihrer Unternehmenskultur und in ihrer Art zu arbeiten widerspiegeln muss. Also ich möchte Sie ermutigen, dieses Buch mitzunehmen. Teilen Sie es Ihren Teams, bringen Sie es in Ihre Unternehmen ein, und wenn Sie in der Hochschulwelt tätig sind, erwägen Sie bitte, es in die Lehrpläne mit aufzunehmen. Ich freue mich auch über Ihr Feedback und vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit. Thanks, Marilú.
Thank you very much, Bita. I appreciate this, and I just want to show a last slide here, if the production allows us to see it. And well, I think we have still a lot of things to do in the future to continue promoting this message. Some people normally ask me, because the templates that people can find in the web companion page, they are PowerPoint templates. And a lot of people ask me, hey, is there a way to do this different, in a better way? And the way I have found is through enterprise architecture tools that normally include the capability of producing canvases. Well, you can do that, and you can link the canvases with the enterprise strategy and motivations and all the strategic objectives, and link those with the strategy canvases. So there are a lot of possibilities, but the essence is in the book. And as you mentioned, this book is very easy to read. It's written in a conversational way, so you don't need to be an expert in any of these things to grasp the message that we have of the relevance of data strategy. I remember the first time I presented this, it was in China, and someone in the audience asked me before I started presenting the method if I could tell them how to turn a data strategy into a verb. And I love that analogy because I said, well, with my PAC method, you can turn data strategy to be a verb instead of a noun, that it's a document sitting on a digital shelf and just getting digital dust on top of it. So let's make this data strategy a verb. And if production me and putting the last slide on screen, you can get the book. There it is. You can get the book. There's the QR code where you can get directly to where you can find the book, and the code that you can use to get 25% off. So go and get it. And it's also a great present for your managers or your colleagues, your peers. Please share your thoughts once you give the PAC method a try. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me on reaching this milestone, Bita. Thank you to Steve Hoverman and Techniques Publication for making this a reality. And let's see what comes next, which language will be next. Also, if people can tell us which languages they are interested in, it will be great to know who will benefit of new translations. Thank you very much, and thank you to Techniques. Techniques I already mentioned, to Treehouse Business, who have the production of this live streaming. Thank you very much to all the team. Any final message from you, Bita?
Thank you very much for having me today. Yeah.
See you in the next celebration.